Man, why are we talking about chips? They're so disgusting. They're such an overrated snack. What? What? We're not talking about the food chips? We're talking about the movie chips. Oh, God. Even worse. Hey, what's up, you guys? Film Fan 0599 here again. And today we're going to review CHiPS. So CHiPS stars Dax Shepard, Michael Pena, and Vincent D'Onofrio. And what this film is basically about. It's about Michael Pena. He gets sent, he's an undercover FBI agent. And what happens is he gets sent to Los Angeles to team up with this really untrained rookie played by Dax Shepard. And they need to find out who are these, like, crooked cops and doing all these crimes and stuff. So, yeah, that's what basically this movie is about. So, what did I think of CHiPS? I'm not gonna lie, I had no interest in whatsoever. I'm gonna be honest, I probably wasn't even gonna watch this movie, honestly, because I just had no interest in it whatsoever. I was just like, I really don't have any motivation to watch it. But, you know what? I was really bored. I really didn't know what to watch, to be honest with you. I saw it, and I was just like, you know what? I just might as well. I think I may have just witnessed the worst comedy of the year. Holy crap. This was insufferable to watch. I couldn't believe what I saw. This was unbearable to watch. This was a train wreck. Like, this was a train wreck filmed on screen. Like, seriously, it was a filmed train wreck. This movie is unbelievably bad. Like, I could not believe how awful this movie went. Like, how bad it was. Because I heard this movie was bad. But my God Almighty, I'm not prepared for how bad it was, because this movie is pretty awful, if you ask me. It's garbage! Wow! That was terrible. That was such an awful film. This was released in theaters, folks. This was a movie. You know what? Let's get into my positives. There are none. There are no positives. Nada. There are no positives with this movie whatsoever for me. I liked nothing about this movie. See, we might as well just jump straight into the negatives, because, oh boy, I've got a lot of negatives for this film. So here we go. First being, the acting is insufferable with this movie. The acting is so terrible. Everyone is either a giant cartoon, a giant jerk, they're either one of those two in this movie, and they're just awful. Michael Pena, listen, I love Michael Pena. Michael Pena is great. You know, he was great in movies like Fury and Ant-Man. He's just a really good actor. I really love his, like, you know, comedic moments. He's just a really solid actor. I like him a lot. But man, he was just terrible. He's like this, like, sex addict type of, like, cop and stuff. And he's just annoying, honestly. Like, he really, really is. He's so terrible in this movie. Like, he is so insufferable to watch. He's awful. Like, seriously, his character is so unlikable to me. And he was just terrible. He acted so poorly in this film. Dax Shepard, who, wow, he just gives such an awful performance. And his character is just beyond stupid. Like, beyond stupid in this movie. He is just really, really bad, and I couldn't stand watching him either. Every time he popped up, I was just like, please go away, you are terrible. Wow, he was just really awful in this movie. And he really was. He was also insufferable to watch in this film. He really was. He was so insufferable. Like, I could not take his character seriously. He was so bad. Vincent D'Onofrio, who is another great actor, I don't know why he did this. He is bad as well. He acts like an over-the-top cartoon in this movie, and he's awful. He does such a terrible job. Kristen Bell is even in this movie, and she plays Dax Shepard's wife. Funny enough, they're married in real life, but still, it's all she is just a jerk of a wife. That's all she is. That's all she is there. That's the only purpose of her character in this movie. And I couldn't stand watching her either. Just all of the acting in this movie. and then you got, who's the one dude? Like, he was just not even, like, why was he even in this movie? You got the dude who played, he was in Dragon Ball Evolution. He played, I think he was supposed to be Goku or something. He's Billy Joe Armstrong minus 2.0. That's who that guy is. And he plays Vincent D'Onofrio's son, and all he's there for is just to act like a druggie. That's all he's there for. Like, what was the sense of his character? Just to be Vincent D'Onofrio's son and just to be a druggie? That's it. That's all his character was purpose for there. Like, seriously. The acting is just awful. And the characters are terrible too. These are some of the most insufferable characters I've had to sit through all year. The comedy's terrible. This movie isn't funny in the slightest. I did not laugh one time in this movie. There was not one scene that made me laugh. I saw every joke coming. Seriously, I saw every joke that they were about to make coming. The comedy is just terrible. It really is. There's nothing funny about this movie. It's the same repetitive jokes as it is in these R-rated comedies. Just a bunch of penis jokes, drug jokes. That's all it is, and they recycle it for every single one of these. And it's awful. It's not funny. It really isn't. Seriously, the comedy is god-awful in this movie. I did not laugh a single time in this film. Oh, speaking of seeing things coming, this movie is wildly predictable. Seriously, I saw a lot of things coming from a mile away. Especially one thing in particular. I was like, watch, I have a feeling this character has something to do with this. And boom, guess what? I was right, because it's so predictable. I've seen this story 1,000 times, and they do it in such a predictable way that I'm just like, well, I hate it when movies are like that, where I can predict almost every pinpoint and every plot point in the film. I hate that. I love being surprised by movies, but this movie was just so darn predictable. I literally predicted almost all of the major plot points in this movie. It's so predictable. Oh, and the fact that nothing makes sense in this movie at all. Nothing at all. And there's just random scenes thrown into this movie for absolutely no reason. Like, there's a scene in the movie where, like, the lead two characters are talking about, like, eating ass. Like, the hell? Like, what was the point of that? Like, literally, it serves no context to the story. Like, it's just thrown in there for no reason. Why? Seriously, nothing makes sense, and there's just random things that are just thrown into this movie for absolutely no reason. Like with a lot of these R-rated comedies. And I'm just like, why? The chemistry, honestly, this is the worst duo I think I have witnessed all year so far. Michael Pena and Dax Shepard have no chemistry with each other whatsoever. And it was painful to watch them on screen every time they interacted with each other, because they're both, first, their acting is terrible in this movie, and second, their characters are so insufferable. They're just awful, their characters, and the fact that they're paired up together, oh, it makes it even worse. And it just makes the movie so painful to watch, because these are our two leads. These are the ones that we are following in the story, and I hated both of them. I seriously hated both of them. They're both terrible characters, and they have no chemistry whatsoever. None. Nada. They have no chemistry. Seriously, they were so insufferable to watch. Every time they showed up on screen together, it was just insufferable to watch. Oh my God. The writing's terrible with this movie. It's so awful. It's so generic and just so paint by the numbers. The directing is generic as well. And guess what? It's both written and directed by Dax Shepard. And his directing is so terrible. The way it's shot is not all that great. The editing really isn't all that great with the movie either. And the cinematography is so bleh. Like, really. His directing is terrible with this movie. Oh, and not to mention that this movie moves at a snail's pace. It is an hour and 40 minutes. And it moves at a snail's pace. Seriously, this movie wouldn't end. Honest to God. Listen, I know a lot of people find movies like Fist Fight and Rough Night to be like the worst comedies of the year, and those movies are terrible. Do not get me wrong. Those are both F movies. And they're in my top 10 of the worst of the year. But CHiPS. My God Almighty, was this was hard to watch. This was painful to watch. Because you got two leads that are insufferable, the two leads that are terrible, have no chemistry, and it's painful every time you see them on screen. The comedy is awful. Nothing makes sense in this movie. There's just random stuff just thrown into it. It's so bad. And it's predictable as hell. This movie is by far the worst comedy I've seen all year. This was bad. Like, I know some people said this movie was bad, but it was beyond what people said. This is beyond anything. This is atrocious. So, it's time for my official grade on... You know what? Do I even... F. It's an F, obviously. Come on. An F, F, F. This is, without question, one of the worst movies of the year, and the worst comedy of the year for me. I found this movie insufferable to watch. Literally, there are times in this movie where I want to stop watching the film. Like, it was that bad to me. That was just... So yeah, CHiPS gets an F. So, if you have seen CHiPS, what did you think of it? Leave it in the comment section below. And I'm FilmFan0599. And we'll see you all later. Peace.